Hey everyone, this is Wei and welcome back. Let me go over some basic key points on perspective because it's actually very important to be able to visualize the 3D space in whatever it is that you draw. So let's get started and I'll talk about the process along the way. All right, let's go over some basic stuff for perspective. And perspective can be pretty complicated, but for general drawing, you really don't need that much knowledge on it. So just let me show you the basic stuff that everyone should probably know a little bit on perspective. So with perspective, you always start out with a horizon line, okay? So I'm just gonna start, this is what they call the horizon line. And basically this is your kind of your eye level. Like if you look really far away, this is kind of like what you see at your eye level. It's kind of like looking out into the ocean, right? You see the horizon line. So with this horizon line, I'm gonna start out with a 1-point perspective. So this is the most simple perspective that you can get. So it's just 1 point. So basically 1 point means that you're going to have 1 point on the horizon line. And then if you create these lines like this, now you're getting perspective coming from this 1 point here. So with these lines, let's say you want to just draw like a box. So with these perspective lines, you can actually do, let's just say something like this. Okay, and all these lines right here will be parallel to the horizon. So there's only really, all the perspective line is going in one direction. Okay, so we can do, so all these lines are parallel, and this is kind of like perpendicular, right? So it's perpendicular to the horizon. So this is what they call 1-point perspective. And if you want to visualize this box, let's say a little bit better, very useful. I'm going to draw the back of this. So these lines will be connecting all the way to that point. So this would be the back of the box. And why am I drawing this back of the box? Because it's, in drawing in general, it's always good to be able to visualize things behind. So that's why I'm just kind of drawing this just for the heck of it. Okay, so this would be a 1-point perspective. So this is the most basic form, and let's move on to 2-point perspective. So let's see, let's draw the horizon line again. Okay, so with 2-point perspective, that's what it is, it's just 2 points. So instead of 1, I'm gonna have 2. Okay, so let's just connect these lines a little bit, just draw some guidelines. Okay, I'm gonna do another one here. And what this gives you, it's kind of like a 3-dimensional grid now, right? Like instead of just parallel lines, now we actually have 2 perspective lines. So let's say you want to do a box, and I'll just kind of take one of these lines, for example. So let's draw like a smaller one since we're here. So let's say this would be the top of the box. It's a little bit smaller. Now these lines are still vertical, okay? So these are still perpendicular to the horizon. So I'm just gonna, let's make this as the base of the box. And then let's connect this. Okay, so with 2-point perspective, now what you're getting is it's a little bit more realism, there's a little bit of warping, right? Because this is kind of a very wide angle because the vanishing points here are fairly close together, so you're gonna get like a very wide angle. So this thing almost looks like it's being distorted. Okay, so let's say we're gonna draw the back of this. Well, actually the back is gonna be, this is still vertical. Okay, so this would be your 2-point perspective compared to this being the 1-point perspective. So you see how simple this is compared to this, right? But this one feels a lot more, just 3-dimensional in general. All right, so let's add one more, and this is what they call a 3-point perspective, and it's actually not that useful for general purpose drawing because it's a little bit too complicated. So just let me go over it real quick. So here's 2 points, right? 2 vanishing points right here. So we have these grid lines. Let's just make a couple of lines where we can see. And I'm just kind of going over this just so I can show you, so you have a little bit of knowledge on 3-point perspectives. I don't really use this as much at all. All right, so with 3-point, there's gonna be another point, and I'm gonna put it right at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm gonna make some lines here. And this kind of stuff, perspective would be good if you're doing like, you know, like a bird's eye view, you know, maybe it's standing on top of a building or something. So let's just say I want to do a little box, and this would be the base. Okay, so let's just do this. I'm just going to use this. This is going to be the bottom. Well, actually, this could be the top. All right, let's do the top then. All right. So with 3-point perspective, you know, here, let's say this is the rooftop, right? So this is 2 points. And then with 3-point, we got to add in this point here. So now we got to follow these lines. So instead of having a vertical, you know, whereas we have in the 2-point perspective and 1 point, everything was vertical. This one's actually going to move down to the point here too. So these are going to give you these lines right here. Okay, and then let's just say the bottom is going to be here. So make a relatively flat cube. Okay, so we connect that. All right, and then here for the back, we can do, so this would be like this. This would be like this, and then this point here, actually this is a little bit off, sorry. So actually it would be here. So if I had a ruler, I can probably, you know, it would be more accurate, but overall it's close enough. So with 3-point perspective, you know, now you get this very, you know, dramatic perspective. But in general, we don't use this a lot because with drawing, it's just, this is a little bit too complicated. And seriously, if you want to do something like this, there are better ways to lay out this kind of perspective and actually, you know, using 3D programs. It's a lot easier. So overall, so this will be a 1-point perspective, and this is very simple. When you're drawing, you probably want to make it a little bit more complicated than this. And 2-point perspective, and this is, you know, probably the perspective that you want to use when you're drawing, because it's just a lot more dynamic, you know, when there's kind of, you know, multiple angles going on. And then 3-point perspective, yeah, you know, it's good to know, but generally we really don't use this much at all. All right, so to practice this kind of perspective, obviously when we're drawing, you know, we generally don't put these perspective lines because it's just a little bit too much of a hassle, right? So let's say you want to draw a box freehand, you know, it's very good to practice this kind of stuff. Let's say I'm just gonna do a freehand. I'm gonna do kind of like a little bit of a 2-point perspective. And I'll show you why, you know, you kind of want to do this kind of stuff freehand as opposed to working with vanishing points. So it basically, you know, with the vanishing points, you see with this box, if I extend these, you know, these will pretty much go off the paper. I mean, you know, the vanishing point is too far away, right? Because the perspective is not that steep. So you kind of want to practice doing these kind of boxes and just kind of try to visualize that all these is going to go into you know, that vanishing point. And you want to be able to do that kind of, you know, semi-convincingly, so that, you know, kind of like what I'm doing here is not super accurate, but it's kind of good enough, right? You feel like it is a box. I mean, if you're doing like a box and you end up doing something like, I don't know, you know, something like that, you know, then something is weird, right? It looks like it's warped. So get into a habit of just kind of roughing in lines. You can even just do like a simple, you know, just a little square on the floor, right? And just try to visualize these lines going back. Like this one's a little bit steeper, right? And then this one. So that's why when you're drawing, you know, you generally don't want to draw a line and stop. You know, with linear lines, just kind of go over it. You know, let it go past you. You know, past what you want to draw, and that's really helpful in trying to visualize. That way, you can visualize the perspective, right? Because once you extend the lines, then you gotta be able to see, oh, you know, that this is not correct, right? Or the angle is wrong. So, like if I do something like this, and now we know, you know, this line doesn't make any sense, right? Because this 2 is converging here, and these 2 are going back more. So it's just, I mean, there's really no way around it. It's just trying to get yourself used to drawing boxes. very loose. Just try to keep doing this kind of stuff. So this is almost like a tic-tac-toe. And then, once you have that, then if it looks correct, then you can, okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit harder. Putting those harder lines. So that's some ways of practicing, try to visualize all these lines going into a single point. All right, so that's your quick and dirty and perspective, and it's very simple. Just kind of practice these kind of stuff, and things will become natural. And when later on, when whatever you draw, you're gonna be able to visualize these kind of bounding boxes around objects, and it will give your drawing a lot more realistic dimensionality to it, so that it doesn't end up looking all warped. So hope you guys enjoyed this little quick lesson in perspective, and if you do, please do give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.